So, Karuna, okay, so
Hi.
you just taught this great class, right? And the energy in the room was amazing.
Thank you.
And everybody seemed to transform from the moment they went in to how they were when they came out.
Really?
Yeah, it seemed,
Is that what you felt, or
I kind of felt it with my partner.
you felt it with your partner?
Mm-hmm. So I wonder, like, how did you sense how to structure that class? I mean, is that a prescribed order of things to do, or was that your idea? And how
Oh
did you
no,
come up
it's
with
never
it?
my own idea. It's always Yogi Bhajan's idea.
Mm-hmm.
We teach from manuals, so I prayed. Actually, I had another class designed for this morning, but when I went in, I read the room. I felt the room, and I said, there's something else coming through that needs to be coming. And I was talking to the musician, and I said, there's something. So I opened it, I just prayed, asked for the guidance, and opened it up, and that Kriya came.
Oh,
So that was very unexpected, that Kriya, but I went with it. I trusted it and went with it. And I thought it would just be really, really nice for people to know to work together. And especially as we reach this Aquarian age now, after 11-11-11, and they've all been working in this group consciousness. We've had 4 workshops. We had our 4th on Saturday, and now, so I felt like it would be really important to work together. And then the Kriya just started growing, and it just got more and more exciting as it grew. And everybody really enjoyed it, it seemed like. And then the musician and I got to, play together, and you guys did an amazing job. I mean, amazing. You held your arms up for 10 minutes straight.
Was it 10 minutes?
At the very end, yeah.
I was
10
going to
minutes.
ask you how long
Yeah.
it was. But you didn't have the book for that.
I had the book.
Oh, you had the book.
Oh,
How
I
many
read
books?
from the book.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. No, you never, in Kundalini Yoga, you don't memorize. That's why I love teaching it, because there's that, you don't memorize. Because you need to read word for word. It's just like the Japji in the morning sadhana. You read, even if you memorize it, you'll inevitably get a word wrong. And you've got to read word for word these Kriyas. Otherwise, you're really not giving the students what they need. You're giving them what you think they need, and it's not up to you. It's none of your business as the teacher. You read what he's told you to read, and you teach what he's taught you to teach. And that's the discipline. And actually, when you go on in your life like this too, you're very committed, and you've got this discipline in your life as well. So it rubs off on other areas, You read the manuals, you read the directions, how to drive,
How many books are there? How many Kriyas are there?
There's over 4,000 Kriyas. Yeah, yoga sets. Kriya is a yoga set, and there's over 4,000. That's not including meditations.
So, and they're all written, and
They're
you just
all
go
written and you
the way
read them,
they
yeah.
go, and they
Yeah.
work the way they work. And did you learn why they work the way they work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Teachers
so
training, level 1 teachers training program teaches you everything about Kundalini Yoga that you need to know, from diet to the commitment of becoming a teacher, of learning the Kriyas, of practicing the Kriya before you go and teach it is essential. Even though I didn't practice this one this morning, I taught because it just came through to teach it. I have enough, maybe a little, enough today to be able to teach it without practicing it. But I did my sadhana this morning, so I had a Kriya already this morning under my own belt. So you never want to go out and teach a Kriya that you don't really know. You want to know the Kriya. You want to familiarize yourself with it. So 10 minutes before the class, I was really reading through it and learning it, how to teach it, in case there were questions in my own mind that came up on how to teach it. But if you go word for word, you'll know what to do.
And is there some sort of, the way these things are structured, is there some sort of magic that occurs because they're structured that way?
There's no magic or mystery in Kundalini Yoga.
So
No. It's very practical.
And
It's very grounded. People get very blissed out with the experience, and that's joy and love and fulfillment in ourselves. Something's changed inside of them, and so the bliss comes from the experience. And it's not easy getting through these Kriyas. These Kriyas are very, very difficult. But the difficulty is, and the challenge is the virtue in the Kriya. And if you can get to the end of the Kriya, and you can, and you always can if you're committed to it, if the mind doesn't step in and take over the physical body, because the mind shuts down the physical body often. But what we do is we pull everything up from the navel to the heart center. On Saturday, I taught navel intelligence, so we pumped the navel a lot in that class, breath of fire a lot, to bring everything to a neutral heart center. So you know, there's a miracle from Guru Ram Das in the heart center and the neutral mind. That's the miracle. But the mystery and the magic, it's kind of like, it's not really there. I mean, it's there in a sense of it's a gift. And there's a magic in every gift we receive, right? There is a magic. But I don't want to sway people in thinking like it just comes without them working for it. It doesn't. You have to work hard in Kundalini Yoga.
Well, I think, you know, for most people who are just coming to it cold, there are levels of learning that will begin to unfold and make this magic seem not so magical. But for newcomers, like for me, for example, you know, the way this stuff all takes place, you know, it doesn't seem like obvious to me, like chakras, okay? I mean, I think for most people, that's a bit of a mystery, a bit of a magical element to life. So the more you learn about that, the less mysterious it is. But can you talk about chakras a little bit and how they work in our lives?
Well, the chakras are in every yoga practice. So they're not, you know, unique to only Kundalini Yoga. They're, you know, they're in every, and basically they're energy centers. We use the 7 chakras. There's more than 7 chakras in the body. There's a lot of chakras in the body. There's chakras here and in the bottoms of our feet. But we use the 7 chakras from the base of the spine through the crown chakra. So first chakras at the core of the navel, well, below the navel, at the soul body, we call it. We also align the chakras. We align the chakras, the 10 bodies, the 5 tattvas, the 3 gunas. I mean, there's a sophistication in our bodies that go beyond the chakras. So the chakras are the easiest thing to talk about in the physical body, you know, because at the base of the spine, there's a chakra. At the navel, there's 2 chakras. At the heart, there's a heart chakra. Throat is a chakra, and every chakra reflects a color. And at the third eye point, the Ajna chakra, and that's where we really want to work up to, is the third eye point, because in this Aquarian age, we want to become more and more intuitive. We have a problem with so much choice in our lives, in who we are, in this age of technology. There's so many choices. Where do we go? How do we make the decision which way to go? So if we came more from our intuition, our 6th chakra, our Ajna chakra, where we see blue-violet, we might be able to make a decision quicker. You know, it might be less confusing. We might feel less vulnerable in the sense where we can just make a decision like that. And then above the crown, above the third eye point, is the crown chakra. And that's as we open up the fontanelle, the soft spot where we came in, you know, the baby spot, the soft spot, unto infinity. So we can go from this dense self, these chakras, once you ignite them, and we always line up the chakras before we start class. So to open up to, you know, to get the spine straight, to pull the chin in, to lock the chin in Jalandhara Bandh, to pull up on Mulban, to apply Uddiyana Bandh. These are all working the chakras. And the bandhas are an extremely important part of Kundalini Yoga. Because if you allow your head to drop forward and your spine's straight, but your head's forward, you've lost it in the back of your neck. You can't get through to your crown chakra, unto infinity. You'll be stuck in your finite body. But if you keep your Jalandhara Bandh, your throat, and I always say swallow. I always say open up the throat chakra, feel the Satnam, the truth is my identity. Feel the openness, allow the jaw to soften, allow the throat to hollow. so the energy can move. The Kundalini is at the base of the spine, in the coccyx. So the way the Kundalini works is you pull up on the Mula Bandha, you pull up, it drops down, and it shoots up. That's what happens.
What does it feel like?
I don't know.
How do you know it's doing it?
Because the technology has told us it does that.
And you feel differently
There's
after?
no secret. There's no like mysterious secret that this is like the body's gonna explode into like, you know, infinity. Like, oh my God, I'm never gonna. And people have this idea.
Well, you hear
and that's why,
about
because they're not taught by Yogi Bhajan. They're taught by someone else who writes these books on Kundalini. You know, look, there's masters, and then there's people who pretend to be masters. Yogi Bhajan's a master. He's a master.
And how did you find Yogi Bhajan? How did you find Kundalini in your own personal journey?
Well, I was blessed to be taken to a class in Los Angeles, and then the teacher and I of this class, we bonded, and she became my mentor, and she adopted me and basically taught me everything I know. Just by experience and by me doing a seva for her all the time. I've been with her for 10 years, and I was blessed. I was very blessed to be a part of the family I'm a part of, and that's how I learned to be. And plus, it suited me.
You felt that right away?
I've been a practitioner of yoga for 25 years, and I've taught Hatha yoga before, and I've taught, you know, different kinds of yogas, but I mastered Kundalini.
What's the difference for you between the different types of yogas?
Well, one is linear, and one it takes me way far from I've changed. I've become more subtle. I've become more relaxed. I can deal with who I am now. In my ups and downs of my daily life, and in people, you know, as people come into your life and move out of your life, and death, birth, children, families, you know, partnerships, relationships, working relationships, everything's changed because you become very neutral. You become, you know, very heart-centered and very neutral. And my name is Karuna, and I've been given this name as Karuna in 2004 by a pundit in Varanasi, India, the holiest city in India, and it means compassion. And as you're given a spiritual name, you have to act upon your spiritual name. You have to become your spiritual name. So we're given spiritual names in Kundalini Yoga, but mine's not a Kundalini Yoga spiritual name. I have a spiritual name in Kundalini Yoga. I mean, it's called Liv Preet Kaur, but I use Karuna because it's given to me years before Liv Preet Kaur was given to me last month.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
How'd you get that one?
My teacher asked me to get a Kundalini Yoga spiritual name.
Oh, how do you do it?
Easy. Easy. You go on a website, and you go on 3ho.org, Happy Healthy Holy Organization.org, and you go under spiritual names, and you tap in and they give you a box of put your name and your birthday. I think your birthday. And then you send it off to Niranjan Kaur, who's been given spiritual names for 35 years.
Oh, so this is
Yogi
the namer.
Bhajan gave her that blessing to give each and every person, and millions of people are getting spiritual names now. Kundalini Yoga's on fire.
And so those spiritual names, from your experience of people who get them, do they always suit the person?
They always suit the person.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Liv Preet Kaur means beloved one of God, one that holds the beloved, you know, the beloved in her voice, basically, you know. And I've been given, I'm a woman who has too many names, basically, but, you know. So I'm just sticking with Karuna right now.
But that feels like your name right now?
It is my name. It doesn't feel like it is my name.
It's your name.
Oh, no.
So it feels completely more like home for you than your given name that you were born with?
Well, no, I love my name, Caroline. My dad and mom gave me that name. I love that name.
So
but
how do you decide when you're going to be Caroline?
I let
when you're
anyone
gonna be
call me
Karuna?
whatever they want to call me. It's just as long as they call me.
Yeah, just talk to me.
I don't care what people call me. A lot of people call me Carrie because my,
you were a kid?
when I was a model in New York, my name was Carrie. So I know if people from New York are behind me and they say Carrie, and I go, oh, someone's from New York, okay, there, or if someone calls me Caroline, then they call me Caroline. If someone calls me Karuna, rarely does anybody call me Liv Prekar.
Because you haven't really established. It's new.
Yeah.
So, but you have all this stuff. You have the fleece. What does this do for you?
This, the sheepskin, we use this sheepskin as a technical, as part of the technology of Kundalini Yoga. It's to release you from the Earth's electromagnetic field. So we put it in between our yoga mat and ourselves, so it goes on top. And I always teach with this, but you don't have to. Wool blanket works too.
And what about the head covering? What's the meaning of the
Head covering
head covering?
is to keep your solar centers intact.
To keep it near you?
Well, there's a lot of energy that comes towards you as a practitioner of yoga and a teacher of yoga. So we keep the solar centers intact. We cover the crown chakra.
And it doesn't matter what color, or it does matter what color?
Doesn't matter. Preferably not black, but if you're like cool, you can wear black. I mean, I don't wear black, but
Is there anything you miss from other forms of yoga that your practice, your Kundalini practice, doesn't include?
No. As a matter of fact, I rarely practice another yoga. I don't ever practice another yoga. Because we have postures in Kundalini Yoga. We have salutation to the sun, we have downward facing dog, it's called triangle. We had upward facing dog. We have everything you need. You don't need any other yoga. And as a matter of fact, it gets your cells, meridians, and nadis, your glandular system, your endocrine system, your hypothalamus is reset. You can ask for a better technology.
Can we talk about the gong for a second?
Let's do.
Because in your class the other day, you used the gong, and then in your class today, you didn't use the gong. And when do you use it, and when do you not use it, and what does it do?
Well, I had a musician today, so I didn't want to tread on his, path. So I didn't bring the gong. But sometimes I travel with the gong. I love the gong. I mean, the gong for me is full.
Yeah.
The gong is a practice in itself.
Did you have to learn how to play it?
Yeah, you study how to play it. Yeah, Yogi Bhajan's got a great video called "How to Play the Gong," and you learn it. But really, it's your intuition. You pray because the gong is an offering to you, and when you hit that gong, you are not hitting the center of that gong. You are hitting the sides of the gong. You're aligning these beings that have just done a class, they're laying out in savasana, possibly, and you're playing the gong for them, and it's got to be a rhythm. It's got to be very, very, very cared for, because you never want to hit the center of a gong, because that would just shock their own energy centers. You don't want to do that to students, so you really need to practice.
So, and the gong, the sound of that gong.
The sounds of the gong are the universal sounds that aren't heard unless you're playing the gong. They completely realign your chakras. It completely realigns your cells, meridians. It works on your nervous system like no other sound. That's why in Kundalini Yoga we use specific music only. We don't use rock and roll, heavy metal, anything like that. We use only yogic music, devotional music played by masters of Kundalini Yoga that have a practice under their belt that they know from the heart chakra up. That's where they play from. So there's the harmonium often played, often. And there's guitar, and there's always the tablas, and but these musicians, the first time I went to, the way I met this practice really was before I took the class. The one I spoke of earlier I was sent to Yogi Bhajan's Samadhi, and that was his funeral. By a woman I was doing flowers for. I was hired to do flowers for this woman, and she knew Yogi Bhajan, and she asked me if I would drive down at 9 o'clock at night and put flowers on his altar.
Oh,
Yeah. So I got in my car and I drove, and I thought I was stopping at and I was in Vail on retreat, and I went straight from Vail to Espanola. I was supposed to take a left in Creston and I missed it. And I was the first one at his Samadhi, at his funeral. And it was under a huge tent in Espanola. And I just went in there, I had nothing, I was freezing cold, so I grabbed whatever I had in my car. There was 2 other people traveling with me, and they stayed in the car and slept. I arrived there at 3:45 a.m. I was sitting there, and the musicians were setting up. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was, but I went and I bowed at Yogi Bhajan's altar. And I was the first one there.
That's amazing.
And so I just sat there, and I was like, okay. And I went into bliss. I mean, I went in, because the musicians started and everybody started coming in with these, and I'm like looking around, and babies covered in sheepskins and warm, everyone looking so warm, and I was just, I was freezing, but it wasn't going to move me. Nothing was moving me from where I was sitting, and I sat there, and I stayed until 8 o'clock in the morning, and somebody came and shook me, the 2 girls from the car. They got up, and they're like, Karuna, come on, we have to go get the flowers, because then we went and got 500 long stem white roses, and we dethroned every one of them, and I put them on his altar, under his gigantic picture of him, and politicians and diplomats and everybody came from all over the world to talk about him. And I put these roses up on his altar, and I was definitely, by then it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I still hadn't slept from 9 o'clock the night before. And then I got it, and then I left that afternoon after his funeral, his celebration. But these Sikhs were so humble to me. At 8 o'clock in the morning, when these 2 women came and got me to wake, to say, let's go get the flowers, this Sikh man came and he grabbed me and he goes, come on, I'm going to take you to eat. I didn't even know who he was. I had no idea who he was.
So he was taking care of you.
He was taking care of me. And he unraveled the aluminum foil from he knew I had to go somewhere, and he made the food for me and offered me the food, and I got in the car and got the roses and put them on it was beautiful. So that was my introduction, and I went back to Vail that night.
Oh, so you sort of came into Kundalini as he was leaving.
I did. But they say Yogi Bhajan comes through his 9th body now, his subtle body. And I feel that, every practice I teach, I feel he's with me, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's, spoken about in every class, and
yeah,
I suppose he always will be.
I'm a devotional teacher. I'm a devotional teacher, yeah.
And
I'll always bring my gurus into the class.
Do we know who his teachers were?
Oh, yeah. Well, his guru is Guru Ram Das, and then he had another teacher.
And when you teach teacher trainings, do you ever go to your trained teachers' classes and see how they do?
I always go to, I'm a great student. Are you kidding me? That's the problem. When people think they become a teacher and they don't have to study anymore. That is the biggest problem with the ego. And a lot of teachers become teachers and you never see them in your classes anymore, and it's not good. I keep telling them, this is not your, people say, oh, you should see how many people came to my class. I'm like, this isn't your class. This is God's class. These are the teachings that we don't take credit for. It's an honor to be teaching people all the time. I'm always in my teachers' classes, always. And I go on retreat all the time, and I study all the time. All the time I'm reading books. And they say that Yogi Bhajan was never seen reading a book. He was that brilliant. It all just came through him.
Well, he wrote a lot of books.
He wrote a lot of books, but they never said they saw him reading a book. But I don't know, I'm really fortunate. I'm very fortunate. You see a lot of people teaching this yoga. You see a lot of people becoming very famous at this, from this yoga. But I'm going to say something about everything's in God's time. It's not on our time frame anymore. And I use God, generator, organizer, delivery. And I'm very fortunate because I get to go to Yogi Bhajan's ranch. I get to be with BBG, his wife. And I don't know how it happens like this. I get to sit in his gurdwara and pray.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's how I find my, my fortune. That's
pretty
money to
cool.
me in the bank,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Is experience. And if you can get an experience from Kundalini Yoga like that in your life, not just from a class, but in your life,
How has it changed you?
that way.
Have there been physical changes?
Oh yeah, you get healthier.
So you feel
You feel great. You feel really great. Yeah. Full of vitality.